right, I've hit the record button.
All right.
You see the news today? Outside
Which
of
one?
Formula One? NASCAR's going to run one of their cars at Le Mans.
Yes. With Hendrick.
In the 2023, it won't be classified. And apparently Chad Knaus is leading the program.
Ooh. Does that mean Jimmy Johnson's going to suck at another series?
Roll intro, please.
Of course. The wonderful early start. All right. Hello and welcome to the 2022 F1 race at Bahrain episode here with the 107% podcast crew. I am the Papaya Menace, Cody Catos Miller, and joining me, as usual, is the Tifosi fanboy himself, Faxi, the Greek train wreck.
And I have the correct graphic on my OBS as we record this.
Good job.
Because I had the wrong one and I sent it to you and we were getting ready to post it on YouTube and you had to sit there and say, wait a minute, you idiot.
Thankfully, I was having to convert everything and I saw it, so we're good. Didn't go live. We don't talk about that.
I mean, we already have.
That's what editing's for.
Hey, Cody.
What editing?
Hey, Cody, I got a question for you.
Yes?
Did you hear the news about Sebastian Vettel?
The wonderful man being out of the Grand Prix this week.
It hurts. I love Seb. We don't get Inspector Seb. It would have been great for the first race.
It's gonna be unfortunate. I love me some Seb, so not having him is a rough one. But while he's sitting at home watching the race, I guess he can check out this episode of our new podcast, while following us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at the 107 Podcast.
Wonderful plug right there.
Of course.
You know who will not have the opportunity to listen to our podcast when this is uploaded? We're recording. It's Thursday night where we are. Friday morning. This should be uploaded, correct?
Yes, that's the plan.
You know who will not be listening when it comes out?
Probably a former Russian Federation driver who has sanctions and can't pay attention to Spotify.
I mean, I was going to point you in the direction of a certain super sub in Formula One.
One of the two super subs, I'd say. Because there's always Kubica.
Oh, Bubaka. Bless Bubaka. Yeah, flipping Nico Hulkenburg gets to drive the Aston Martin again this weekend. Lawrence Barretto actually had a really good, I think he was saying during the weekend warm-up, he noted that he was wondering if Aston Martin actually had properly colored overalls for him. They probably just have had his pink ones sitting around since their former days.
Ooh.
I got a question for you. While we look at this with Nico Hulkenburg coming in.
Okay.
So you and I, for the most part, you and I agree that Aston Martin probably has a better car than Haas, correct?
Yes. For the most part.
Who does better this weekend, Nico or K-Mag?
K-Mag.
Doesn't even give it a second thought.
You forget K-Mag supremacy. Always and forever.
Okay, I'll give that to you.
I think realistically, assuming no crazy shenanigans, nothing outlandish, we had normal race, 2-stop race, no ridiculous shit happening. I think K-Mag does better.
Okay.
We get some weird shit. Hulk podium, here it comes. Let's have it happen.
Actually, okay, I'm going to rewind it back. Who does better in qualifying?
Honestly, I think K-Mag again.
Okay.
We saw the lap he put in during testing. At night, which same as qualifying, had the fastest lap that surprised everyone. So he knows how to drive that car. Nico's not going to get as much time as he would like in a completely different car. You know, there's difference between running in, you know, in simulators, which he's probably not going to get much simulator time, for being honest. Comparison to a car generation, he roughly, you know, had a pretty good idea with the previous regulations. So I think because that, I think K-Mag does better when it comes down to, you know, realistically, they're both going to be fighting to go into Q2.
You're calling both of them going into Q2.
Fighting for Q2. Fighting for Q2.
Okay.
And you give 2 laps. Do we think Hulkenberg can have 1 lap that is better than, you know, 2 laps from K-Mag? I don't see it happening with time in the car. What's your thoughts?
I don't even know who to choose. I just figured you would. I was kind of curious to see if you were going to stay on the K-Mag supremacy or if you were going to come down a little bit, which it sounds like you came down, but you're still feeling like K-Mag's got this.
I mean, you remember our preseason shakedown. I was very, very, very critical of Aston Martin.
We all are.
And I think Aston Martin's going to pull points, not because of the car, but because of Seb being able to pull something out of nothing. I don't think Nico has that same potential. So I think if you look at it in relatively similar cars, I'm going to give it to the person with a little more time in their car. That's why I got to go K-Mag.
Okay.
Now, we got lots of other FIA news outside of just driver changes.
Well, yeah, I was going to say you brought up some of the rules and everything, and I mean, you've got a few things highlighted here. We have the minimum weight increase. Mercedes, they pretty much ruled that their mirrors are legal. And the thing I didn't see at all is the new medical driver. So, what's your thoughts on pretty much this whole spiel?
So I guess we'll kind of start with the more rules and regulation stuff. I know we had talked about the Merc mirrors last time. I'm surprised that they're legal, and I think Ferrari is going to keep up their appeal as it's shown by their statements. That they've kind of been like, hey, this still doesn't seem right, you know, sort of vibe with what they've said. And I think they're going to keep appealing and trying to get them to be deemed illegal. Or at least make Merc have some sort of change to those mirrors and kind of get them into where they maybe don't have an arrow effect that they might have now. I think if they stay legal, we're in double diffuser 2.0. I think it's going to be...
I don't think it's going to have that big of a...
It's not, but in the sense of you're going to have immediately everyone's trying to copy that design or similar to it as fast as possible, and we're going to have a bunch of arrow mirrors by next week.
And it's funny you say that because, and I'm actually looking at a quote from Mattia Binotto, because I mentioned I had the Scuderia website up.
Mm-hmm.
The FIA has always made it clear that the support for the mirrors must have only a structural function, and if it involves an aerodynamic influence, it must only be incidental. And he made sure to highlight that word right there. If this has been the principle emphasized by the FIA in the past, I believe it must be the same today and in the future. There's no reason to change your mind today.
Yeah. I mean, I know I made the statement last episode, that I felt very much that it should not be deemed legal. And I think this kind of seemed more of a, like, oh, we don't know exactly what we're doing. We'll give it another, week and see if someone keeps raising the issue more. And I think it's going to be Ferrari. I think they're going to keep raising that issue. And I completely agree that you don't design it the way it is without the idea of it being aiding in some way of aero. And it's Mercedes. They're not idiots. They know exactly what they're doing. It's, gamesmanship at its finest, where they've always been the ones who have tested the boundaries, see what they can get away with, within that area of legality, kind of push that boundary. I mean, that's kind of how they've been able to, you know, be as dominant as they have,
Yeah.
this past, near decade.
Yeah. And kind of going further with Binotto and everything he said, Ferrari's got precedent to want to kind of push the envelope. Looks like motorsport.com has an article kind of going over it, talking about how Ferrari is asking for further clarity. 2018, they actually had put their mirrors on the halo, and FIA ended up saying, "Hey, you can't do that," because it was for an aero benefit. And Binotto even said, "No one is questioning the legality of Mercedes solutions, but in 2018, we mounted mirrors connected to the halo, a solution that was legal as it was written in the regulations. However, 2 races after, a new technical directive from the FIA forced us to remove them because it would have had a non-accidental aerodynamic influence." I think, yeah, Ferrari's pushing this, and we could see some type of directive come down within the next few races, which will be very interesting because we're going to start getting into very aero-sensitive type races here with a lot of the high-speed corners.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously we have Saudi Arabia for the next race. I mean, that right there, you've got the S's that you're going through high speed. And then obviously like Imola. Yeah, this is going to be very interesting to see.
I say they let Merck keep it. Obviously, they're going to be able to keep it for Bahrain. But they keep it for Saudi Arabia, and they come up with something between Saudi Arabia and Australia.
Fair. I can't wait for Australia too.
You have a 2-week gap. It makes more sense if you're telling a team, hey, maybe on behind the scenes, Merck, FIA has worked with.
they could drop something and before the next race and say, hey, these are going to be outlawed after Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, I think they might have already done that behind the scenes.
We would have heard it. We would have heard something by now. Very easily.
I mean, it could. I think. Well, it's like with. There have been other stuff where it's been like, hey, they may have kind of gone off the cuff with Merck of like, hey, if Ferrari keeps pushing this, we're probably gonna have to.
I think it'll take more intervention from other teams.
Think so?
And I think Mercedes winning
even with,
in Bahrain
even with
will
Ferrari's, even with Ferrari's longevity kind of position that they've held for a while of kind of being able to have as big of a voice as they do is, arguably the most well-known of all F1 teams. You don't think that them being like, hey, do something about this will be enough?
They've got their own house to worry about, though. Like, I may be a Ferrari fanboy, but I have no shame in saying the whole reason why they sucked so bad in 2020 is because they were dealing with engine penalties from 2019 that nobody knows about because of the sealed agreement.
Yeah. I mean more of because of their long standing. Do you think that, obviously they're going to, those teams are going to hold, your, honestly right now, it's Merck, Ferrari, and Red Bull are going to hold more of an influence than, let's say, Alfa Romeo, Haas.
Well, I mean, yeah, they will. It will have a little more of an effort, but at the same time, it's just going to look like a juggernaut pointing at a juggernaut. It's going to take more than just Ferrari complaining, I think. And I think we're going to see, if they happen, they're going to start to happen over the next week.
It's going to be Horner. Let's be honest here.
I'm actually surprised Horner hasn't said too much, and if he has, I haven't read about it.
Either he has or they have something in the works, too.
Sorry, I had to take a sip. I have the best agua fresca at my desk right now. Speaking of it, it seems like Binotto's actually kind of happy about this minimum weight increase.
It seems like almost everyone is, I think, besides Alpha. Remember, Alpha's the only team that actually had anything remotely close.
Franz Tost actually was saying, this is straight from a quote from him, also motorsport.com covering it, the compromise which we found is good. Mm-hmm. Talking about it because all the cars are overweight.
Yeah. It seemed like everyone was riding the struggle bus.
He has softened up And yeah, Toto's even come out and said he feels a little bit. Oh, sorry. Nope, that's Bonato with a long quote.
It always is.
He actually brought up Toto's name. I think that it's a good compromise among all the teams, but I don't think we should increase further because finally, as Toto said, it's an area of competition. I think for the future, we should try to reduce and not increase the weight of the cars. That is also from Bonato.
Yeah, I think it makes sense up the weight as they kind of work on going away from their like random super specialty materials to make parts of the vehicles. It makes sense they're gonna get heavier.
That
With Formula One really trying to focus on using materials that are available to, I don't want to say the public, but like to,
more sustainable. More sustainable.
Yeah.
That's
rather than these super specialty one-off sort of things.
Yeah.
That have no other practical uses. So I think it makes sense that, cars are going to get heavier with that.
Yeah, I will absolutely give Formula One that. And they
now,
yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say something, but it was honestly going to be off. It was going to be off the mark.
It always is.
Boy, you wish.
Now we get kind of a two-part story on this one. One, Alan Vandermeer out as medical car driver.
So what happened with this? I missed this completely, and I'm just now typing it in.
So it comes up as a two-parter because unfortunately something else also came out today about it. It also relates to Vettel and Daniel Ricciardo.
Wait,
he had made some statements.
He was the one who said it. Oh no, Alan.
Yes, some anti-vax statements, which we won't get too much into that, but I'm assuming that's the main motivation behind that.
And you know what? I remember seeing this because, going back to October last year, there were people talking about he may lose his seat.
Well, he was unable to go to Abu Dhabi. He couldn't drive the last race because they had to have a separate driver for a few of the races at the end of the season. And he wouldn't be able to go to Australia because he's not vaccinated. So I know there was already restrictions and stuff like that in place. And I think FIA just was like, no, we're not going to deal with this shit. Which completely makes sense. It's to have them have to worry about having a second driver, second and third, essentially, because they still want a backup driver available at all times. So if he's unavailable and he can't work it, you want a backup for that sort of thing. If it's going to be a freaking, sort of thing.
Jeez, yeah. I'm surprised I missed that news.
Now there's another part.
Uh-oh.
Red Bull Sergio Perez per ESPN. F1 should consider allowing drivers to race with COVID-19.
Sergio. I feel like this is going to be a quick and resounding hell no from both of us.
Yeah. I don't think it needs to be said more than that. Checo, love you. Just don't.
I'll be honest, I'm not going to even pull it up to kind of read into what he said. That overall, that's enough. And I could be pointed at and said, well, maybe you should consider all the facts before you talk. I don't know how you can get more of the facts than that.
Yeah.
Well, while we're kind of on the topic of Sergio.
All right.
He is from the wonderful country of Mexico.
As he is.
And northern border of Mexico, you have the land of the free.
Debatable.
Very debatable. I was going to say in the home of fried chicken, but that debatable part threw me off there. Andretti coming to Formula One in 2023. We wanted to talk about this in the preseason, but honestly, we overloaded that entire episode.
There was so much.
There was so much, and it was great. And I kind of highlighted this as, we definitely want to talk about it.
Yeah, there's a lot. not just Andretti, but everything that's really come out with. I mean, realistically, it comes from the massive explosion of popularity that Drive to Survive has in the U.S. Like, huge growth and popularity, and especially with Liberty taking over, doing a lot more focus on social media stuff, has I've met more people who are into Formula One in the past 2-3 years that are American than I have in the however many years before. And I think it'll be interesting because of kind of how we've had with Russian Haas kind of not really feeling like much of an American team. That getting Andretti, a team that is, very known with anyone in American motorsports, joining the fray and being our 11th team on the grid.
12th.
12th.
Or am I not counting correctly?
You can't count. That's 11. We have 20 drivers.
I'm an idiot. Why am I sitting here thinking there's 11 team? I've been playing Formula 1 2021 too much. Yeah, you're right. 11 team.
FYI
And really quick note, I was wrong. They have applied to join in 2024.
Okay.
That is my bad for the notes I sent you. Because, yeah, that would be next year. I'm still thinking it's 2021. Time doesn't make sense ever since the panorama hit.
Yeah, I
have an interesting angle for you regarding this.
Alrighty.
And I kind of want to see your I want to see your reaction, and I kind of want to hear your feedback on this. So, my friend, in 1993, in Formula One, who were the two drivers for McLaren?
93?
In 1993, without looking it up.
What?
I have a point. I have a point to this.
Why is my brain not working?
You want me to give you the answer?
Yeah, do it. My brain just short-circuited. You surprised me.
So the two drivers for McLaren were the man, the myth, the legend, the one who would probably have 7 championships had he not passed away, Mr. Ayrton Senna, and Michael Andretti. And as history showed us, Andretti was gone from McLaren before the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
So, my feeling when it comes to Michael having a team coming into Formula One, I feel like, and he may not ever say this out loud, but this is my kind of tinfoil hat belief. I feel like Michael sees this as his redemption in Formula One.
Well, it's not to make a fucking profit.
We know that, but when he came into the sport, and obviously I've got some information up in front of me. When he came into the sport, Ron Dennis actually said, I think he can win Grand Prix and become world champion.
Yeah.
Just to find himself out of the sport completely, replaced by Mika Hakkinen.
I mean, it's Mika fucking Hakkinen.
So you've got to think, like, he didn't make it a full season. And here he is now. He has put his money on the table. He said, we will have a team. We will have our second American team, because Haas technically is an American team. They are based out of North Carolina.
I mean, they're definitely more American now than they are.
Well, yeah. But, I mean, even then, they are an American team. Like, yes, a lot of the actual work on the cars is done overseas because that's smart.
Mm-hmm.
But we will have our second American team, so we will actually have an American rivalry on the grid. But I really do feel like this is Michael Andretti's redemption tour. To own a team, make it through an entire season first,
Mm.
but I think he is looking to have a bigger splash than Haas did in their first season and do even more.
As long as they don't have Rich Energy to sponsor, I feel pretty confident about a Andretti team. I think you're partially right. I partially agree with that. You might be 100% right, but I partially agree with you because you already have Andretti in Indy, in Indy Lights, and wherever the series under it is. Forget what's under Indy Lights at this point. Um, you also have them doing stuff in Formula E. You also have them doing stuff in supercars, and you also have them doing stuff in Extreme E.
Well, I hope he's doing something in supercars considering Penske's had a hold there.
Um, they're also doing stuff with Rallycross. So I mean, you really have them doing the full gamut of shit. So I mean, if they're already doing all this sort of stuff, why not? I mean, you're already in, you know, IndyCar, which for open wheel at this point is, as big as you're gonna get in the US.
Yeah.
But then adding in, Formula E, you already kind of have at least somewhat of an idea of kind of how things are going in an FIA run series. Why not? And you already have the personal experience of your time there. You have the relationship he has with Zach Brown, which can kind of break us also into having Colton Herta, one of his IndyCar drivers,
I was actually going to ask you if you had to put on your fortune teller outfit, who are the two drivers for Andretti in 2024?
I think realistically you have Herta. You aren't creating that agreement with McLaren unless you plan on having Herta.
Considering Herta will be testing for McLaren this year, absolutely.
He will get enough super license points where he doesn't even need to win as long as he continues his current in Indy. He will have more than enough points. And I think that second seat is going to be interesting. It's going to depend. There's so much movement that can happen, end of 2022 and end of 2023 with them coming into the sport in 2024, where who really knows? I think they're saying it for Herta as being one of their drivers. He has the relationship now with, Romain Grosjean. I mean, do you have him being your veteran driver with F1 experience? Grant he'll be a few years removed from driving in F1, but he's someone who's there. He's you know the guy at this point. That's always an option. And I think the other thing you're looking at again is what driver movement is. In 2 years from now, are we still going to have Alonso on the grid? Are we still going to have Hamilton on the grid? What changes that mean? Logan Sargent take a huge step up and you can run a double American driver with Herta and Sargent? It kind of depends on if they're going, all out on everything. Are they going to try and just build up young talent? Are they, going to drop stupid amounts of money, get the best drivers they possibly can? What Andretti's goals are, I think, are going to play a huge thing. And also, it'll be interesting to see who they can pull for sponsors and such. I think it'll be interesting to see as, a team that is new into the sport has their, are they going to be able to take some of their, already current American sponsors and bring them into Formula One maybe as their first venture? Or are they going to bring in something new? Are you going to have a completely outside non-American company sponsoring an idea of this American team that Andretti probably will go after, as evidenced by a lot of their logo having an actual American flag on it.
Okay.
I think there's gonna be a lot of stuff that's up in the air that's going to determine way too much at this point. And it's like I said, it's still 2 years away.
I think one of the hitches that goes into, obviously, the way it's looking right now, Colton Hurd is going to be in one of the seats. I know you and I will be absolutely fucking poggers if we get Pato Award.
Pato!
I think Pato is going to be in McLaren's. I think Pato will actually drive for McLaren after Daniel Ricciardo.
It seemed like there's some.
I'm just gonna throw that out there. Obviously that's my terrible take of this episode. The one thing I see that could muddy up kind of some of your thoughts, Logan Sargent, obviously American driver for American team, he signed to Williams.
I think we are seeing more openness with things. I think it also with Williams, I don't see it being a long-term thing. I think with the investment company that owns Williams at this point, I think they're just going to try what they can for Williams in a few years from now. I mean, they're an investment company. They're not a motorsports focused organization.
I mean, fair. It's just I mean, it almost looks like from the news.
I don't see Sargent in it. That's a, oh hey, you know, we're going full bore on this American sort of thing.
No, absolutely, I agree.
And I don't see it happening, but I think it's something that they're gonna, you know, pay attention to. And you know, who knows? They might, if he's still hanging out in F2, you know, when they come into the sport, I think that maybe they work out with something with Williams to have him be their reserve driver, or you know, join their, you know, be their only, you know,
reserve drive next year and test drive under King Latifi and Albon, and then that door can definitely be open.
See, I don't see that happening with Sargent. I see him sticking F2 for a while. I don't see him ever being good enough to get to a spot where he's going to be in F1, if I'm being honest. I don't think he's that good enough of a driver.
I feel like we're going to have to see how the F2 season goes.
Yeah. I say if he stays in F2, I can see Andretti signing him to being their only young driver sort of thing, and just marketing him as an American driver to the extreme.
Okay.
I think sticking on kind of the American thing, just a quick little, you know, we'll spend a minute or two on it. Android/Google sponsoring McLaren this year.
The chrome wheels are going to look cool.
The chrome wheels. I love them.
I'm an Android fanboy, so seeing the little Android robot sitting on the air intake, I'm here for it.
I'm here for it. Looks great. It'll be interesting to see kind of what happens with that. And I think that's the first really big American company that I can think of having that sort of role.
What,
yeah, you got
Alphabet?
like Monster.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you got like Monster, but it's Alphabet. That's huge. Next part, we'll do kind of a quick little.
Well, hold on.
Okay.
You added Las Vegas GP in here, and I'm scratching my head. Like, I know that there have been like these very famed talks. Did you see some other news that I haven't seen on that as well?
I know it was kind of just more in the whole topic of, you know, U.S. and Formula One.
Okay.
And it's kind of more of a bring it up if we have time sort of thing. I mean, I can say it in one sentence. I don't want it.
You don't want a third. You don't want a third F1 race in America.
I don't want an American street race. That's what they're trying to make it. We'll already have Miami, which is going to be Saudi Arabia essentially, but probably not as good. I don't want it. It's fine. I don't need it. I don't want no. Like, I'd rather have Malaysia. Like, as we talked about last episode. But right, you know, I really want Malaysia to come back. I'd fucking love to see Vietnam. That'll never happen. You know, there are tracks I would rather have than a Las Vegas GP.
I mean,
no,
Las Vegas already has. Las Vegas has a cursed history because of the Caesar Palace GP.
Yeah. I'd rather have Road America than a Las Vegas GP.
Whew. I mean,
also because it's close to me.
Road America would be cool.
It's close to me. I want to go.
So, tiny little tidbit I want to throw out there too. I'm going to give you 3 cities around the U.S., and I want you to tell me which city actually had a sanctioned IMSA race at it.
Okay.
San Antonio, New York City, Tampa, Florida.
Was it technically St. Petersburg?
That's a current one.
Okay.
I believe that's at the airport.
Yeah, it's at the airport.
Yeah. 5 seconds. Give me an answer.
It's gotta be San Antonio.
My dad actually has a poster up of it of, what was it officially called? Hold on. That's why I brought it up, because I was kind of looking at
Lone Star something.
No, it was the Nissan Grand Prix of San Antonio, held at the San Antonio Street Course. Which, somebody who is in love with that city, I don't know how they did that. I wanted to give you that little tidbit just to see if you would give me some. This next little bit I threw in just because I was scratching my head a little bit.
I mean, okay, I have to say, I just kind of ignore everything that's posted on the F1 site unless it's like news.
I mean,
but if
I use it to kind of start my news search, and then I kind of go from there. Obviously, I've been pulling from motorsport.com quite a bit. Man. They've been giving the good stuff. There's one thing I wanted to point out. Formula1.com, because they kind of do their own news stuff, which I know pretty much anybody listening to this, they look at from time to time. Formula1.com has Williams as the last place team in their power rankings.
Mm.
And actually, the list I sent you from where it starts with Red Bull, that's 1 through 10.
Yep.
I'm sorry, I see Alfa Romeo being last. You and I had, what, Williams up like 8th?
I have Williams at 9th.
I think I put them a little higher, but then I've been thinking about it. I'm like, man, Albon's probably not going to have that good of a season. Latifi is... It's going to be interesting seeing Latifi as just without George.
I mean, to be fair, it's not terribly off of mine. Like, it's got swaps around the top 3 and the bottom 3. The midfield I have exactly the same. So, Formula 1 has their ranking as Red Bull 1, Ferrari 2,
I don't see
Mercedes 3.
I think they did that just to piss everybody off.
Probably. McLaren, Alpine, Aston Martin, AlphaTauri for your midfield, and then Haas, Alfa Romeo, and Williams. I have essentially just swaps around for 1 through 3 and 8 through 10. However, I also made my power ranking on the assumption that porpoising gets fixed, as that seems to be the big issue with a few of the teams.
I don't think it's going to be that big of an issue going into Friday.
I think it's going to be solved. That's just I think it's going to be fixed. But if you look at the teams, the lap times of the teams who had issues with porpoising, it is significantly in similar length of runs and similar tires. It is slower consistently.
That makes sense if you're porpoising.
Yeah. Red Bull 1, I don't see it. I don't agree with Red Bull 1. Solely as if we're looking at drivers, like you put Max and Lewis, if we're looking at points of last year, they're very, very similar.
You're going to put Checo and Checo at number 1 because this is Checo's supremacy up in here.
Maybe before he said people should drive with COVID, I would have, but...
Lance Stroll number 2. That way we can have 2 North Americans.
Lance Stroll 2022, 2023, 2024. I don't see Ferrari over Merc. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I know you don't.
I have so much. I am all aboard the Ferrari hype train as them being a definitive third team. They're not gonna fucking beat Merc. Are you kidding me?
Watch them surprise us.
I am all for it. I am all for the most batshit crazy season we've ever had.
Well, you know what? I'm just gonna point something out right now. It's RAWE CEEK.
It's RAWE CEEK.
Ferrari's never gonna live that down.
No, never. For those of you
worst
that
graphic in the fucking world.
you know it's been memed a lot when literally our script says RAWE CEEK. All right.
We are 11 hours from P1 starting.
From the start of RAWE CEEK?
From the start of RAWE CEEK.
RAWE CEEK end?
It is time for the Bahrain GP.
Let's get it.
We threw up weather forecast. So I actually did a deep dive into the weather because I'm a nerd when it comes to weather. Apparently it was reported that there was rain today at the circuit.
Okay. There's high winds. Such high winds that for the first time in forever, FIA has issued directive teams can close their garage doors. Well, they could have closed the garage doors today to avoid any damage inside the garage due to the strong wind. That has been part of the regulations for, I believe, I'll say it's like 6 or 7 years now. They have to keep their doors open. It was so windy that they were able to close their doors. Does that mean we're in for some interesting stuff if we ever in high winds?
I mean,
I know
it's always been high winds in Secure.
Yeah.
That's something they're used to. Watching the warm up, it was actually really cool.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently that's not supposed to be what it's... I mean, that's not going to be the weather for this weekend. It's going to be lots of wind, not scorching hot, but warm.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like it may be a little cooler than what they're used to, but they are actually comparing the weather to what it was last weekend. So
yeah, they're looking
this is going to be good.
Roughly around 70 degrees Fahrenheit or 20 degrees Celsius for any non-Americans. So on the cooler side of what we've gotten for a few races, especially if you're going to have a night, with nighttime quality and racing, still be interesting to see kind of how times will have lined up to the laps K-Mag had put in when they're in their late night sessions that Haas was able to run.
And it looks like I am confirming they're predicting it's going to be 26 Celsius once the lights go out. The winds are actually going to be dying down as the weekend goes. Okay. By race day, it will be 15 miles per hour.
All right. So, yeah. Should be kind of bog standard then, I believe, for kind of what races have been the past few years.
I know I put that in our script because, oh my God, it rained at Secure. But then I looked and was like, oh, we got no chance of it. Although I did want to ask you, how topsy-turvy would a rainy Bahrain race look?
I think it'd be a shit show. I think it would be our last true race at Germany.
Oh, man. One of the best races I ever got to watch live.
2019 Germany.
So
or it would have been an absolute shit show, and I would have been here for it.
I mean, we always have Formula 1 2021 to give us the rain race.
It's always Canada. It's always Canada.
Who's your driver to watch this weekend?
AMAG Supremacy? No.
I I was going to accept that answer.
I think I have a few. Well, I'm gonna go one kind of front of the pack, one mid pack, one at the end.
Okay.
I'll start with back of the pack, K-Mag. I want to see what K-Mag does. I think it's gonna be interesting. I think I'm gonna be watching whether he's sitting in the pit lane for the whole race or whatever happens.
Okay.
I'm so happy to see him back. And I think it'll be interesting to see just how he compares to Mick. I think that kind of is going to be for me the most interesting part of the backfield, back of the pack. Front of the pack, I think it's got to be George. I want to see how he does in comparison to Lewis. I mean, because we've never gotten to see them race in similar cars. We got to see Russell and Valtteri. I want to see George and Lewis go at it. And then in the midfield, it's got to be Hulk. It's got to be the super sub himself. It's got to be Hulk. What about you? Who are you watching this weekend?
I got a team that I'm watching.
All right.
And I got a team and one driver. So the team I'm watching is going to be Ferrari, just because I really want to see how they stack up in a fast race like this.
Yeah.
Because if they do good, just wait until we get later in the season to Monza. Like that's just
fanboy hype.
Oh my lord! Just seeing the Tifosi lose their shit in Italy, I think that.
All right, so we are starting a GoFundMe to have Faxi go see Ferrari win.
That will be one spicy meatball. My driver to watch, Lance Stroll. I want to see something out of him. I feel like there has not been a lot of hype around him. I feel like he is in the perfect chance to be a dark horse. And at the same time, how mostly him and a little bit Hulk do is going to kind of show where Aston Martin said. I feel like they are one giant wild card this season. I mean, you had Seb even saying last season he didn't join the team just to be middling in the midfield.
Yeah. Regarding Stroll and Hulk, who wins that?
Stroll, hands down.
You think so? I know last
car episode, built around Vettel that Hulk is having to get into. Apparently Hulk's quite a hefty boy in F1 driver terms, which you look at him, yeah, you realize it. Yeah. He's going to be a little uncomfortable in it. It's going to be the same thing as when George was racing in Hamilton's seat. I don't feel like he'll have had enough time in a car that is radically different than anything he's driven. So, Lance, barring any wrecks, so I'm going to say qualifying, runaway for Lance during the race. I still give the advantage to Lance, knowing anything can happen. It's just we won't have a torpedo coming out of last place to hit everybody. So,
my personal, I have Hulk out qualifying and out racing Stroll, but I think very lowly of Stroll. I mean, is he the best probably paid driver we have right now? Yeah, but I'm not expecting anything out of Stroll this year. We talked about it last episode. I have Stroll taking 0 points this year.
I feel like we're going to see how that truly happens.
I think it's going to be interesting. We're
going to truly see what happens in this first race, and that's why he is who I'm watching as an actual just solo driver. Podium predictions. You and I have decided we're going to have a friendly competition with this.
It's not going to be friendly. Don't lie to yourself.
It's going to be a nice friendly competition. If we get first place right, 5 points. If we get second place right, 3 points. If we get third place right, 1 point.
We'll be updating the score every week, so letting you guys know how things are looking. What's your podium prediction?
Max, Lewis, George, 1, 2, 3.
All right. I'll have a nice little spreadsheet set for all this. I have Lewis, Max, Charles.
I don't want to overhype Ferrari.
I am all aboard the frickin' Ferrari hype train.
We're gonna see how it goes with practice. I will be watching with a bated breath.
I think last year for Leclerc was massive. And I think he's going to go in confident, feeling good about the car. And we are going to see Leclerc break out and become a top driver versus being a top of the midfield driver. I think he's going to be in that same category. We're going to have, maybe not the GOAT, conversation of Lewis, but in that he can win. He has a chance to win any race that you have with Max. And I cannot wait to see it.
You know who I'm going to mention as my dark horse for the race?
Don't be Lando.
Yuki.
Oh, fuck no.
I was
I have
watching.
him as
I was
my dark
watching.
horse.
My dark horse is going to be
the first wreck.
My dark horse for the race is going to be Yuki. Watching all the interviews, kind of catching up with all the news. The AlphaTauri guys went straight back to the factory. They have been hard at work. And Yuki even said last year, yeah, they took a little break before the first weekend. This year, no such thing. And he has even said AlphaTauri will be showing up with new parts. And they will be ready to go come 11 hours from now as we are recording this.
You have Yuki as your dark horse winner.
I wouldn't say dark horse winner, but my dark horse to get good points. I will clarify that.
Okay,
I feel like he is going to have, compared to how he usually does, he is going to have a great weekend. Yours is Hulk, so we can just skip this part for you.
No, I have Yuki as my first person to cause a yellow flag this season.
I'm going to smack you with my monster that I just drank.
I remember
a note for everybody listening. We had to start about 5 minutes later than we meant to because I chugged this monster and I could not stop burping.
Of course. There was someone had tracked it. Yuki caused the most yellow flags of any driver last season.
I don't believe it.
And I don't see that changing.
I do.
Because he is the most aggressive of the young drivers. And most prone to making mistakes because of his aggression. Like, I see...
Do you think he'll get points this weekend?
No.
Because I do.
I don't. I see him ending up... All right. Works for me.
Okay. $5. Yuki's going to get points this weekend. Okay. I feel that confident that he'll get at least a point.
No.
Oh, man. Speaking of Yuki, I've got Twitter up, and the Haas F1 team has the new intro for Formula One this year. Ooh. Mind you, is it the same music? Because I've only seen it without... Okay, I like that music. That's fucking iconic at this point. What are your thoughts on the intro?
It looks so goddamn good.
A lot of people were like, it's not edgy enough. It's not like the quick edits and everything. And this one, it makes them look more human. And I love it. They're in a room that lights up with their actual team colors.
This gives me more hype than RAWE CEEK.
Fucking RAWE CEEK.
I think it looks so good. It is amazing. It is so good. it's just so good. That's all I got. It's great. It's everything I want.
I like it. I can't wait to watch it. I mentioned it. I know we talked about it in the Shakedown episode. Yeah, I'm gonna try to see every race live. I have to miss this first one. I will be watching it around noon Central Time. I know you're going to be watching it, so don't spoil me, please. Twitter will do that. Twitter will do that for you. Do not send me stuff on Discord, because I have a habit of checking Discord just because that's how I communicate with everybody.
I don't even. Yeah. I've got a point now where I just watch it live, and I will move heaven and earth to fucking make sure I watch it live to avoid spoilers.
I mean, as soon as me and the girlfriend come home, we're gonna put it on. So like, I'm forcing her to watch it with me.
I'll be in a Discord call on with a few friends of mine. We'll be watching it.
Oh, so you'll get in a Discord with other people, but you won't come to mine for the race. I see how it is. I'm joking. I'm joking.
I mean, yeah. You guys don't talk. You guys just sitting there muted and just like.
Okay, but watching the race muted while we have the text channel blowing up is actually like its own. It's its own like experience, and I fucking love it.
I like being there. It's like sitting around. It's everything I want with COVID. I've done it. I've done it for last 2 seasons roughly, where I try and do a lot of races like that if I'm not busy.
I will say,
laying in bed.
I will say it does give everybody a chance to like actually hear what's going on and just type out. That way people aren't shouting when they're trying to say something. You got to give me that.
Yeah. I like the shouting.
I mean, trust me, I shout enough at my computer. Oh, I can't believe we're here.
If you want silence when you're watching a race on Discord, just watch the 2020 Bahrain GP.
Lord.
I got a friend into Formula One. Very first race he watched was the 2020 Bahrain GP, and he got to see the Phoenix himself.
Couldn't believe it.
Still one of those times where I was worried I watched someone die.
Couldn't believe it. But
on that note, I think we will wrap it up.
Absolutely. I'm excited.
It's gonna be one hell of a RAWE CEEK.
It's going to be one hell of a weekend.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we're here. We're ready.
My body is ready.
My body, my mind, my soul, and my voice when we are sitting down next Thursday or Wednesday. Are we going to put these out Thursdays or Fridays?
I figured. Oh, well, we post Fridays. Every Friday morning before FP1. They'll be going live on YouTube and Spotify.
God, we really are sticking to the 107%. I love it.
Oh, yeah. Last second.
Well, hey. We're not even last second. We would not make any field.
Dude, no shit.
We are the Ricardo. We don't even fit in the car. Are the Ricardo Rossets of the podcast world. You realize that, right?
I'd have it no other way.
Lord, take us out.
As you were joining us here at the end, just want to say thank you for everyone who's watching what we are referring to as episode 1, as our preseason shakedown was kind of our prep special, whatever you want to call it. So, from the bottom of my heart, and with Faxi and the two of us here in the 107% podcast crew, we thank you. I'm the Papaya Mess, Cody Catos Miller, joined as always as Faxi the Greek Trainwreck. Thank you for tuning in, whether it's on Spotify, YouTube, whatever. And make sure to follow us on all of our social media, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at the 107 Podcast. And we will wrap it up here. You guys have a good one.
Have a good one. See y'all.